because we changed the date. I believe because we changed the date of our regularly scheduled meeting, they consider this a special meeting. And because it's a special meeting, if there's anything on our minds, so to speak, that is not listed on the agenda, we're not supposed to talk about it or vote on it. Just giving everyone that disclaimer. I don't really think, but I could be wrong, there's anything current or immediate needs in terms of like making a motion and voting on, especially something that wouldn't be on our agenda, but you know, you guys can let me know if I'm wrong about that. So, I guess we'll just launch into this. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, special meeting of the Conservation Commission. I will call the meeting to order and seat myself, Ed, and also seat alternates Shannon and Paxton to tonight's meeting, and welcome Rory as well. I guess let's just launch right into it. Did everybody have a chance to take a peek at those April meeting minutes? It was a long time ago. I didn't see anything in particular that needed to be corrected, but anybody else have anything to say, or should we make a motion to pass our April meeting minutes?
I will move to approve.
A second.
All right, great. So we'll approve our meeting minutes for April 2nd, 2025. And jump into the New Preston open space property and stewardship over there. I think right now, you know, with the lack of funding for a pollinator garden, that initiative is still currently shelved. I owe the property a visit. Last time I had driven by, I didn't see that the town had mowed their paths very recently, or the parking area. So I don't know if anybody else has noticed or been by if it's been mowed, but if it hasn't, you know, let me know. I should be going by there in the near future and could peek it, and we'll talk to Jim if that isn't getting mowed for one reason or another at the moment.
Ryan, let me know when you're going, because I'd be happy to join you. It'd be, you know, good to walk that property.
All right, sounds good. I'll keep you posted with that. Probably it could be like maybe this weekend, Ed. I'll keep you posted. After that, it wouldn't be till probably like 4th of July weekend or just before that. I'm going to be out of town for about 10 days, so 4th of July will be here before I know it, particularly. I have nothing else to add on that New Preston open space and stewardship. You know, getting out there and walking it, seeing how the Phragmites are doing. I know the birds, you know, seem to love it. The ticks like that property a lot as well. So if we do walk it, Ed, be prepared. Fortunately, most of the ticks that I find in myself walking on that property are the size of snow crabs and not the little teeny tiny ones, but nonetheless, they're prevalent out there. Next agenda item, open space, use of funds and language. Does anyone have anything to add on that agenda point?
No,
I think this
I
is
don't.
something, I think this is an item that Planning Commission is discussing as well. And, you know, changing some of the language and use of the open space fund for things other than stewardship, such as a pollinator garden or things of that nature. But I will try to make it a point to dive into that one a little bit more before our next meeting, and also talk to the Planning Commission and see what they had in mind for that, because I know Wayne was talking about that subject when we met with the selectmen, and Wayne was part of that meeting as well. The next item, gift in kind for Arbor Services. Ashley had been the point on that one, as it kind of relates to notable trees. And I know that there was an email, I think just to me and Ashley from Loretta with regards to engagement on notable trees and Arbor Services. So Loretta is back tomorrow, I believe, from her trip abroad. I hope she had a good time, and I will try to connect with her, in the next couple of days to see if, she could kind of take the lead on that one per se, as Ashley was, and see if we can re-engage with Bill, or I think it's Bill, right, from Arbor Services. And if I need to, I can get involved with that one a little bit too, to see what we can do to keep that notable tree project moving along, and take full use and advantage of the funds and generous funds from Arbor Services that we have not capitalized on from last year's or this year's currently.
Yeah, Ryan, that was what I was interested in. I saw that on previous agendas and some of the minutes. Would you mind giving me just like a quick summary of what that project's all about?
The notable tree project or the gift in kind from Arbor Services?
Notable tree.
Or both? Yeah, so my recollection, kind of understanding, is there's a list of notable trees in the town of Washington that I believe is published through UConn, and anybody feel free to chime in and correct me if I'm wrong or you understand it differently.
Connecticut College,
some
I
of
think,
which
is
are,
yeah.
Oh, is it Con College? Yeah, I think you're right, Ed. So I believe there's a list of trees. Some of the trees are on private property, but there are also other trees on public property or along public roads. And we were thinking of creating, basically our own town's list of notable trees based on that Con College list, and trying to determine where those were, what condition they were in, and plotting out almost like a tour of Washington as it relates to notable trees, maybe a map, some kind of visual, so that, we can have some publication on our website and try to encourage people to go out there and appreciate some notable trees that we have in town. And one of the ideas with regards to the gift in kind from Arbor Services was kind of trying to utilize his arbor expertise to help with that process of evaluating the trees and maybe prioritizing the trees, and using the generous but still small gift of his services to do that, and possibly, if there's extra money available, use some of those to take care of some of those notable trees if he thinks there's things that could be done to them to prolong their long life. So
Neat.
I hope that answers your question, Roland.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, just sparked some interest here. Our conservation interns just started. We have a forestry major, and we've been talking about the topic. Steep Rock really hasn't documented any really notable trees as, kind of champion individuals out there. Surely there are, and they're probably worthy of going in the database and, having regular checkups. So I was just curious where the commission was taking it, if we could, work together if possible. But just throwing it out there, it's a possible idea of maybe submitting more entries to that database, see how they shake out score wise, and just having them on the record.
Yeah, I'm sure that, your properties probably have, possibly have some that are already on the list. And two, I would imagine that there's an indefinite number of trees that would fit the bill for a notable tree throughout the properties as well. I'm not too versed in the process of putting one on the list, but we need, as a conservation commission, need to have a better understanding of that, and we'd love to work with you on the current database and potentially start adding a couple more to it.
Yeah, I think largely for them, I mean, as far as like the scoring system, it's really just size. I mean, it doesn't take into account attributes between species. Obviously, different species have different capabilities. Reaching full maturity and things. Ed, have you ever worked
Yeah.
on anything like that as far as, exceptional trees and their documentation as far as like attributes you'd look for or
I think they go by height, width, and then diameter at breast height. So it's a three criteria formula, and then
Yeah.
they just sort of add all those together. So yeah, so the span of the canopy, the height, and then the diameter.
Does it incorporate like a health assessment, or is it just assumed if you meet certain metrics, by definition, you're probably a healthy tree?
I think it's just live, a living tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, we can stay in touch. We walked by just incredible tulip poplar in Steep Rock the other day. It was 118 centimeters, I think, DBH.
Oh my
Just
Where
massive tree.
was that, Rory?
That was on the west side of the Chippewa. If you cross the Hauser footbridge down at the top of the clamshell,
Hmm.
and instead of going straight up towards the summit, you take your first right on the river's edge loop. It parallels the river, and there's it's mostly dominated by hemlock. It's considered part of the old growth hemlock stand in there, but it just kind of stands alone. It's kind of right at the base of the hillside. Really magnificent.
That
Is it
steep
just before
hillside.
that?
Go
Sorry,
ahead,
go
Ryan.
ahead.
I was
I was
just
going
gonna
to
say,
ask, is it just before that little footbridge and brook that comes down on the
It's
west side of the river?
further down towards the Hauser footbridge. So before, it really turns into like the go path where it climbs up on the
Yeah,
steep slope. Before that, so
yeah,
still while it's like, there's a little level floodplain down there.
yeah. I'm familiar. I did last weekend.
Rory,
Yeah,
where
cool.
another
I
great
like
tree
that.
is. You're probably well aware of this, but on 109, that steep slope. It's in between Sabaday and when you come to Old Litchfield Road. If you're driving towards Old Litchfield Road on 109 from Sabaday, that steep slope going down to the right, there's a really large oak kind of right on the edge of a ravine. And I measured that at about 120. I
Wow.
decided to just check it out. 120 centimeters. About.
That's on Steep Rock
That's
property?
pretty big.
Sorry, I'm having trouble locating the
I think it is.
Saturday. Saturday going down to Romford or
No, it's on 109. So if you
okay.
go past
So it's like,
Sabaday,
Okay, yeah.
it's that small sort of no trails preserve on the right, steep slope going down.
Going down to Mallory Brook.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah,
that's
I
like the
think
Blackville
any
Road
leads. I
section of
mean, we
109.
have quite a few leads that have come up in various reports and things. But if we decide to kind of tackle this as a summer project, any that you think are worth us checking out, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you, Rory. How long do you have those interns? Just the summer, like now through middle of August?
Yeah, middle, late August. And yeah, we have a few other ideas, but I think it'll probably take. I'll let you know.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next one, this tree regs process. I believe it's also tied in a little bit to our NRIR, POCD. Ed, I believe I shared an email with you, and if you don't mind weighing in, I believe that Wayne had sent Susie Payne a note, and that they are planning on including our recommendation for tree regs. Is that accurate, Ed, to how you read it?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see that. Yeah. Yeah, because we hadn't heard from him, but that was great to see.
Yeah, so I will also, in my attempts of connecting with Wayne on that open space language and use of funds, I will connect with him on that that subject as well, and ask him some questions and clarifications if necessary. But I'm glad to report that seems to be taking root.
Yeah.
The next item, the POCD ongoing discussions. Ed, I know you're taking the lead on this, working with Hunter Browley, and I will admit that first, I thank you for sending that out and pursuing it, and I have not had a chance to look at that one just yet. I don't know if anybody else has, but Ed, I'll let you take the floor and kind of give us an update and where we go from here with that.
Yeah, so has developed a pretty substantial draft, and Rory and I have been helping him out with that pretty significantly. So it's a good team effort, and yeah, so I sent around the latest draft to the group. So if any of you have any comments, either right now, certainly welcome those. If you don't right now, but want to send me some, that would be super helpful. If you don't think you are going to get to it or provide comments, that would also be helpful to know, just so that at a certain point, I'll just get back to Hunter and say, I have the comments from the group that I have, and I don't think I'm going to get any more. So, just knowing whether I should expect comments from you all, that would be helpful. But I think the next big step on that report is adding all the recommendations in, which he hasn't really done yet. So I know that Rory and Steep Rocks have a bunch that they sent initially. I remember that, and then I had a bunch that I sent him. So we'll get those in, and I'll probably send another draft to the group when Hunter incorporates those and gets that back to us again. And Rory, since you're on the call, I added a couple, forest types in there, but they're kind of, if you have some, other community types on Steep Rocks that you think are important that could go in there, just let me know.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, I was kind of working through the latest draft, also just adding a few things, and I was looking. I'm pretty much at the forest type section, and I was gonna add some things about the hemlock forest and some of the others, but I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, because I know you guys have been working on that, on those forests with some projects. So yeah, by all means.
And
No,
where
it's-
will this ultimately end up in the town? Is this, incorporated into the POCD? Is it referred, elsewhere? Where does it go or live?
So yeah, it's actually separate from the POCD. It's so it's the Natural Resources Inventory and Recommendations Report. And if on our Conservation Commission web page for the town, it's one of the sort of the main documents that you can look at, you can download, and it's right now there's a 2000 report, and so this is an update of that 2000 report.
Okay.
So it's basically the kind of the authoritative report of the natural resources in the town of Washington and what our recommendations are for stewarding those.
Got it. Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a nice document for the town and for us and other, conservation organizations to refer to and, kind of work towards addressing some of those recommendations. So it's nice to have that in one report.
I'm wondering if there would be a utility to thinking through, should this be tied to development regulations in any type of way? Should there be a connection between a report like this and folks who apply to subdivide or to build something? I don't know if that's the way it's done in Washington, or if it's useful to think about it in that way, or if it's good as a standalone inventory. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense, Shannon. I would love to see a stronger connection between the two for sure.
yeah,
And I
it
think
makes
that's
me think of the roads we talked about, the paving issue, and I guess maybe the more interrelated development regulations are with data on the natural resources, that could be a very reasonable way to plan and permit development in the town.
right. And I think the tree regulations sort of get at that at some level.
Right.
But those haven't been incorporated, as far as I know, into planning or zoning yet. Do we know anything more about that, Ryan?
I know. I would have to talk to Susie a little bit on that and see where it got left off again, but I don't think that either planning or zoning has implemented any of the recommendations we've provided to them with regards to trees and tree regs.
Well, maybe we could say something at some point again.
Okay. All right. Maybe I could try to tie that in with my other conversation I've got with Wayne and see where planning is with it, and we'll see where that goes, and maybe go back to zoning if that's where it got left off with. I believe there was some legal technicality that was roadblocking the last time around with interpretation of the language. So let me look back on that one. I'm just taking some notes here. All right. Well, Ed, thank you again for working on that NRIR. Do you have when do you expect the next draft to be coming out that you were working on, or should we try to make an effort in, let's say, the next week or so to get back to you with comments or no comment? Or do you expect that within a week you've got another draft coming?
That would be great, just to know, to either get comments or to know if I'm going to get comments in the next week. And then it'll be, Rory and I both have to get our stuff back to Hunter, and then it'll probably take him another couple weeks. So, I mean, this is definitely going to probably extend into July at this point. I doubt it'll be done by the end of June. I mean, I think we'd really have to rush to get it the end of June. Rory, what's your time frame for getting your stuff back to him?
Hopefully next week.
Okay. Well, I guess there's a chance we could get it, a next draft by the end of June. Yeah, I suppose there's a chance.
All right, I'll try to take a look at it too and get back to you any comments or something at least, Ed.
Okay.
Feel free to send out, an email again to everybody trying to corral some comments or at least feedback.
Okay.
All right. The new business, this last item, is a request for compliance certificate for the 65 Gun Hill Road conservation easements. I believe there's at least one, if not three, littler parcels of that larger property. The request came in from Jim Kelly, the attorney. I thought he was going to be potentially joining us today, but we've provided you with about 17 pages, if I'm not mistaken, with a couple-page letter of what they're trying to do. I think that it's not a big ask. So essentially, the property is for sale, being sold, and they're doing their due diligence as they approach the close of this real estate transaction to just get something back from the Conservation Commission, you know, merely stating that we have done our duties and inspected their conservation easements and confirmed that nothing has been done to those conservation easements that shouldn't have been done to help close the package of this real estate transaction. So I expressed to him that I appreciate the, 45 or 60-day notice of this request so that we're not scrambling in a week to do it or something. So I can help with that. I know, Shannon, you're traveling quite a bit, if I'm not mistaken, between now and August 1st. So we can all communicate offline and figure out, who can tackle that. And then I would imagine that I've never done one of these before in terms of like a certificate, but I believe Jim said that, a simple letter stating that on X date, the Conservation Commission performed an inspection of the conservation easements and found, everything to be in order, et cetera, so that they can add that to their closing transaction documentation that, there's been no tennis courts built on conservation easements or something of the sort. So that's the extent of that request in the new business. And if anybody has any questions about that, please feel free to ask, but we could take this one into an email and make a determination of which one of us or few of us can get out there and take a peek at those, and I'll draft something up that states what we saw out there for Jim Kelly and the property buyers or sellers, whomever that he is representing. Sound good, everybody?
Sounds good.
All right. Anybody have anything else they want to touch on? I think I touched on in the beginning that we're not supposed to have anything official and talk about or make any motions. It's not on the agenda, but if there's anything on anybody's mind, I think we can talk for a second, or we'll wrap this one up. All right. Well, Paxton, I'd still like to get together with you at some point. So keep me posted with your schedule, and I'll try to do the same. With that, I will make a motion to close the June 11th Conservation Commission meeting at 5:47 p.m. Any seconds?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Rory, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for letting me join.
I hope everyone, you're welcome. Our pleasure. You're always welcome to join us. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of June and vacations and whatnot we have coming up. And we'll try to find something in July that's that most everyone is available to join us with. And as usual, if there's anyone interested in joining, we're all ears and possibly getting a couple more people on board with the Conservation Commission. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Thanks,
folks.
Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Bye, everybody.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.